Hello, my name is Alan R, and this afternoon I'm facilitating a game of Eotenweard, a Dark Age hack of Monster of the Week by Michael Sands, which takes the basic trope of monster hunting and moves it back into the Dark Ages. So we are at about the turn of the 7th century. So it's 200 years since Rome left Britain, and it'll be another 200 years at least before the Age of Vikings. So in terms of touchstones, stuff like Vikings from Prime or The Last Kingdom from the BBC, though they are set in the Age of Vikings, the kind of physical sense of the place will not be much different. And this specific game is described as a Synhamm curse. This is the second of 2 sessions in which our brave questers after monster killing have arrived at Synhamm, a coastal settlement, to discover the Earl, the Lord of Synhamm, to be sick abed and threatened. I think I might leave them to describe a significant event from last session that might give them a clue as to what is going on. We're joined by a 4th player this time who wasn't in the first session, so I'll leave Eduardo's description to last. But what I'd like to do, please, is to go from left to right on the character keeper. So that would mean oh, I beg your pardon, safety tools. I'm sorry. Because we're playing as part of the Gauntlet online community, we will be using the preferred safety tools. Principally among them is the X card, which will mean that one of the players will have a concern about some of the material. We're using lines and veils to try to make sure that doesn't happen. But if it does, and they make the X card, I won't inquire why. I will simply ask them when they want me to rewind the fiction. How far back they want me to rewind the fiction, so I can play forward from there and hopefully avoid the material that concerned them. So with that in mind then, Jim, can I ask you to introduce yourself briefly and your character, and perhaps tell us something from session 1 that you remember that you think has something to do with what's going on at Synhamm?
Sure. I'm Jim Crocker. I use he, him pronouns for folks that know me from outside the Gauntlet. I've been on the Gauntlet about 1.5 years at this point. Played a couple of times with Alan, really enjoying it, so I jumped into this. And folks who know me from outside the Gauntlet probably know me because I sell games, specifically role-playing and story games at conventions all up and down the East Coast and in the Midwest. And I've got a little site online where I do that too called Jim Likes Games, and that's jimlikesgames.com. You can find me on Twitter at jimlikesgames. And on the Gauntlet, I'm one of the co-creators of the Gauntlet Comics shared comic book universe, which we are having a whole lot of fun with. So if you want to look for stuff I'm doing on the Gauntlet, find me there. And I've got a YouTube channel and a little web podcast where I recap some of the games that I play, most of which I'm playing on the Gauntlet. I am going to be playing in our game here Sasursa, who we are calling Cecily rather. I went and tried to find a more Celtic name for that, Alan, after Cecily. I don't know. So, but since that's what we were calling her, and that's kind of the anglicized modern version of it, we're going to use that. So Cecily is the commoner. She is the daughter of a baker, and so she knows how to do stuff like bake bread and churn butter and things like that. And she is a Christian, a reasonably devout Christian, which is why she is she kind of has the confidence that somebody who perhaps has mistaken luck for grace in her life has. Her father survived a bout of the plague, and she did not contract it, even though she was taking care of him. And so she has kind of come to think that means that she is particularly blessed, and so is going to be safe, regardless of whatever kind of foolishness she gets herself involved with, including in the last game where she saw that the church in town had been burnt out burned down, and walked right in and talked to. It turned out that the priest had not perished in that fire, which I sort of thought, there was, at least 50-50 odds I was going to walk in there and find a charred corpse. But luckily he was all right. And we discovered buried beneath the altar an ancient box that had a relic in it, which we popped open. And that relic has had some interesting game effects and is kind of, it kind of seems like it's the MacGuffin that kind of got our plot rolling here, and we're all wondering what's going on with it. So poking my nose around in church kind of got us dragged into the mess that we're in now. So happy to help.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jim. Blaine, do you want to introduce yourself and Owen?
Yeah, I'm Blaine. I don't have a whole lot of social media presence outside of the Gauntlet, so if you know me, it's probably from there. Big dreams and starry eyes of developing my own games in the near future. Not quite there yet. I will be playing Owen today. He is the monster hunter. He was, sort of apprenticed to an older monster hunter and is now graduated from his apprenticeship and is trying to form his own group and is probably somewhat overwhelmed by Cecily and Dicinius and isn't quite sure how to keep up with them, it seems.
That's great, thank you. And then Alejandro, would you like to introduce yourself and Icinius?
Hello, I am Alejandro, he, him. I've been on the Gauntlet for several months and having a blast. Thanks, everybody. I am playing Icinius, a Hispanic boy that was sold into slavery because Christianity was encroaching in his society, and his family feared the devilry that he seemed to be associating with. He is a pagan mystic, so he speaks with spirits in the other world and has magical talents. The slavers tried to take advantage of him, but as a result of his magical abilities, they decided to dump him on a town on the British Islands, and was picked up by Sicily and Owen, and has been traveling with them ever since, which is actually not very long. I think this is only their second adventure together. I was just going to say that in the last encounter, he had taken the amulet that was found in the little box that Cicely mentioned, and is now kind of trying to use it to cure the king. And I have a question. Not the king, the duke. What was it? What was his role?
The Earl.
The Earl. The lady is Christian. Is there anything to indicate that the Earl is not Christian, that he is of the Old World faith?
I think there is no sign of a Christian cross in the room that you have found him when he's been in his bed asleep or ranting and delirious. So no, there's no sign of him being Christian.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I think you did actually manage to conclude that you think he's possessed by something. And applying that amulet, that pendant that Cecily found, did seem for a moment to give him some calm before whatever it was reasserted its presence. I think does that ring a bell with you?
Yeah. So that's why I'm asking, because if there's nothing to indicate that he's Christian, I'm actually going to give him the cross, or not the cross, the amulet.
Okay. Okay. And then that brings us to our new player and character. Eduardo, would you like to just introduce yourself briefly and tell us about Wulfric?
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, my name's Eduardo. I've been on the Gauntlet for just a little over a year now. Go by he, him. Had the pleasure of playing with Alan and Blaine and Alejandro before. Looking forward to playing with you for the first time, Jim. And I'm playing Wulfric. Basically, I imagined him as sort of a hired sword. Who would participate, serve as a mercenary, basically, until one day, his village was sacked by brigands, and he's now seeking justice, and he has these visions where the gods have basically, or his god has basically chosen him to serve as the hammer of the god, and seek out vengeance, and sort of 7th century logic. And I guess he'll be introduced at some stage, during today's session. He carries with him an axe. It's his favorite weapon. He calls it the Painsmith. I guess my inspiration for this, for Wulfric, is One Eye. If you've ever seen Valhalla Rising, it's Mads Mikkelsen's character. And so we'll see how that rolls out today.
Oh, that's quite a loose cannon to roll about. If you are going to channel Mads Mikkelsen, okay. So yeah, I am going to introduce you quite swiftly, I think, because we need to keep the momentum going, and so I'm going to hard frame us into the point really where the first session ended, which was Icinius had successfully brought a little bit of calm to the Earl, who has been lying in his bed, as far as you know, for days, if not longer, delirious and ranting on occasion. He applied the pendant to the Earl and discovered that the Earl calmed. And because Icinius can see aspects of the other world, that parallel world of spirits, he was able to see some of the dark spirit that's been around the Earl disperse. Not permanently, it then reappeared. So there may be something about this pendant. The pendant is not Christian, or it doesn't appear to have any Christian iconography on it. Cecily is in the room. So is Owen. There is some hope in the Lady of Synhamm, Kaya Delvia's face, that her husband did calm for a moment. And certainly the village priest, Father Humlocutus, is praying mightily that this should happen again. And that was the point at which a curtain was pulled aside from the great hall, and in came a man, clearly Anglo-Saxon, wearing a fox headdress of sorts. And you'll find him in the Places and Faces tabs players. And he declares, "My lady, the king is coming." And what is perhaps significant is that was a phrase that when the Earl was first examined, that was something in his delirium he did say. So that was the point at which we cut the first session. The three of you that are present, what do you want to do?
I need to rest. So I would like to, what Asinius does, I think Asinius looks back towards Sicily, and he looks pale. I mean, he looks sickly pale. I think you might have seen him look like this before. And he just kind of steps back into a chair and is just staring at Sicily kind of pleadingly. And he's holding the pendant.
Owen, it looked like you were about to act.
Yeah, I think Owen will will try and engage the lady and talk to her and say, "My lady, it appears that our young ward is quite exhausted by the trial of aiding the Earl, and it would we would be most gracious if we could avail ourselves of your hospitality. We are humble monster hunters, vanquishers of evil in the land, and we would be, of course, happy to offer our services to you. We believe that there is a pall over this village, and perhaps we might assist in lifting it.
That sounds like to me like you've just triggered your distinctive move, Owen. If that's what you think you've done, then do you want to roll some dice and see how effective that is? Have you got the link to roll for your party?
Yep. Yes, I do. Looks like I don't have any dice on there. It's easily remedied. Let's see. I guess I'll be blue. That is a 9.
Sorry, on a 7 to 9, you get what you need, which I think is Kaya Delvia has seen enough in this room in the last 10 minutes to help her believe that you collectively may be able to provide her with a solution, because there is clearly hope in her eyes, and she says, "Can you save my husband?" And then she looks at Eotenweard, the Saxon priest who's just come in, and says, "From what Eotenweard has said, we have little time." And clearly, this woman is desperate for a solution. Can you provide it?
Yes, my lady, I believe we can.
Then you may have all the resources of Synhamm that I can provide in order to save this settlement from the king. If Beda gets here before my husband is fit, then we are all as good as dead.
Do we know how long it will be until he arrives?
And that's the point at which I think Eotenweard, the man who's just burst in, will pipe up and say, I rode hard to get here as quickly as possible, but he could be less than a day behind me, assuming that he gathered his spears and set off shortly after I did.
It seems there's no time to waste. Icinius, will you be... You do not look well. Will you be all right resting while we continue to gather information?
Yes, I think so. I'm tired. Yes.
Is there anything you can tell us from your visions that might aid us in our search?
I think so. There's a shadow cast over this town. What village, town? What is it? I'm sorry.
Yeah, village. It's a large village for the time.
Yeah, there's a shadow, a curse cast over this town, and I'm tired, but I think that we can deal with it. But I need to rest. I actually put my head like on the bed, like with the Earl's bed.
And I think that probably triggers Cecily's natural nurturing.
I didn't want to interrupt, but I absolutely was going to help him out. I don't know whether... So he's at 5 harm right now?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, so mechanically that means I can't really... So as written, mechanically that means I can't really do anything for him?
Well,
because he's tweaked over to the point where he needs like serious bed rest and medical attention to heal that harm.
the way I interpret
So-
that is that he's taken all that harm in very small bite size.
Yeah.
If he had taken 5 in a lump, I'd agree with you. But because he's taken them in very small bite-sized pieces, I think you can help him.
Yeah, so if you'll, like if I can lay him down, bandage him, whatever, like put some salve on whatever supernatural burns or whatever it is that he gets when he uses his magic, and knock 1 or 2 of those down, I absolutely will do that. Yeah.
Okay, well, I think the way that would make sense then, because I don't think you have any mechanically useful healing moves, but I think if you act under pressure, in effect, what's called in this game face danger, then that will give me some sense of how effective your ministrations are.
Yeah, sure.
Let me color it a little bit. I think that there are several like self-inflicted cuts, like on his arms and stuff like that, which you've noticed have increased considerably since we've met, and I don't know. I think that might be concerning.
Yeah, sure. So I asked the priest for help, and whatever I can do to to just kind of wrap them and keep them from getting dirtier or anything like that. That's so I'm gonna
before you roll the dice.
Yes,
there is somebody else who's come into the room. I think probably has accompanied Aelnorth back from his journey, and so Wulfric is in the room. Just so we all know.
Okay, who we haven't really met yet. So kind of, but I think we need to know what his deal is before we.
I simply wanted him to have him there so he could introduce himself at a point that made some sense. So I'm very happy for you to carry on acting.
Yeah. So I got a terrible roll. I rolled like a 4, for trying to help out. So.
And I suppose one of the reasons I wondered whether Wulfric is in the room. I know Wulfric from his background has some experience of battlefield wounds, and there is a help or hinder move in this game. Now, whether two of you
not going to get me there.
No, but whether 2 of you could step in and make the difference, I'm just curious. I just wanted to point that out mechanically.
Yeah, mechanically it gets me to a 6.
Sorry, it does. My mistake. I thought we had
That's okay.
No, you're quite right.
Now, what's the deal with spending fate here? How does that work?
Okay, so if you can make a case to me that your heroic trait applies in this circumstance, you can increase the outcome by 1 step.
I absolutely can make the case that my heroic trait applies here, because my heroic trait is no limits. Or wait, my heroic trait. Sorry, I'm confusing that with my soul move. My heroic trait is generosity. So the whole point of that is that I am, I have whatever. I have a little bit of herbs that I was saving in case I needed them myself, but now my friend needs them, so I take those out and I crush them up and whatever, and wrap them into poultices, wrap the bandages and stuff like that.
So all you have to do is to spend 1 of your points of fate, so it goes from 3 of 3 to 2 of 3, and that increases to 7 to 9.
I'll do it.
The hard choice is that this will use up your healing salves, and so you won't be able to resort to them again.
Yeah, he needs it right now, so yeah.
So what I'm going to, I think then, Icinius, you will, over the next hour, improve that harm by 2, and be fit and more well shortly. So while Cecily is helping Icinius with these self-inflicted wounds that enable him to make blood sacrifices to the other world to get his powers, You have Aelnoth, the person who came in with him, who is introduced as Wulfric. You have the Lady Caerdelvia, and you have the priest. Do Wulfric or Owen want to do anything in this scene, or are you content for me to cut and go somewhere else? Or do you want to go somewhere else?
Don't have anything in particular in this mind. There'll probably be like, some meet and greet and introductions and perhaps that sort of thing, but
there's always. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. I imagine there's always, sort of, food and beverage or social moment where it's a meet and greet, and maybe they sort of share some bread or something to that effect.
I think that's perfectly possible. If you just leave this room into the great hall behind that curtain, then a servant will certainly provide. Because you've ridden hard for the last 24 hours to get here.
It's been a little bit of a long journey for Owen and crew as well. So.
Yeah, and Wulfric, this is sort of like not his, this is not his wheelhouse. I mean, he has none of the social graces, and so he has no compunctions about basically like tearing off a piece of meat or bread or cheese or whatnot that's available, and just sort of not holding back. And he might make eye contact with Owen, and something to the effect of like, who are you? What is your name? What do you do here? What is your purpose? Yeah. Something to that effect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you would have been in the room, it sounds like, when I was making my entreaty to the lady, and so that I'm a monster hunter and all that. But this is probably where it's like, I'm Owen. I was apprenticed to a monster hunter, and you get a bit of that backstory that we went over previously.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some acknowledgement. Oh, go ahead again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and then it would probably turn right back around, and it's like I'm Owen. What is your name?
And it would, Wulfric, and I'm sure that Wulfric would recognize the name of the person that you were apprenticed to. They must be sort of like a legend in the area or something to that effect.
Yeah, so I don't actually have a name for them. I probably should have come up with that at some point.
Well, at your convenience.
Yeah.
But let's assume that that he was well known. We never quite worked out if you left or whether he died and you left, but we'll put that to one side. So
I think we actually did say that I left because I graduated my apprenticeship. Was basically what it was.
So Wulfric, do you have any questions about the circumstances that you've come back? When you left, the Earl's been ill for a long time, one way or another, but not this ill.
I think I heard you mention or say the name that if Beta gets here before the husband was well, the Earl is well, then we're all dead. Can you tell me more about this Beta? I don't think I recognize that name or I've seen it in the notes.
No, this is a name that has been introduced today. Okay. King Beda is the Lord above Widdock, so he's the Lord that that Widdock pays tribute to, and you escorted Aelnoth to see King Beda just to test the lie of the land, but you know that there's been a blood feud between Beda and the Earl for 20 years, and it looks like word has reached Beda that the Earl is seriously ill, and so he's chosen this time to take Synhamm for himself. Yeah, and I kind of imagine that when your village was sacked, it may well have been on that border between Synhamm's land and Beda's land, and
That's
those
perfect.
brigands might well be more than brigands. Yeah, so that's a bit of backstory you bring to the table. Anything you want to do with it?
No. That's perfect. I'll kind of process this and yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Well, then I think probably I will now cut that little kind of montage of scene to a point, perhaps an hour later, when Icinius has recovered some of his strength with Cecily's help, and I think I probably put the four of you around the table because Kaya Delvia will have said to Wulfric, you are you are a loyal warrior of the Earls. If these people need anything to solve this problem, then I rely on you to help them get it. And therefore I see the four of you in Council of War, really. What is the plan? Where do you go next?
Icinius, what can you tell me about this shadow you've seen?
I need time. I need time to look. But so far, what I've gathered is that it's a shadow that creeps and watches like over the whole town. It's angry about something.
You said that it was inside the earth that it came up.
Yeah.
Is there, Wulfric, you are of this land. Are there caves? Is there a place,
catacombs, or
is there a place where we could descend into the earth to look for whatever it is that's causing this?
Yes, absolutely. Caves and natural trenches throughout the land. We often use them as cairns or just places to store food, depending on the location or the shape, depth.
The most obvious one is beneath. If you look at the map of Synhamm, at the top, at the northeast top right, you'll find a significant mound, a significant amounts to a hill. Really, it's an old hill fort, and there are several tunnels running into the side of that hill fort. Yeah, there's a little round tower in black on the top of it.
Can I invoke in the mind of the monster right now to try to pinpoint it?
I think that it's probably fair to say that you've now touched this thing often enough to make that a reasonable trigger. So by all means.
Okay. Does this cost harm? It doesn't say it does. This is not like a...
No.
Yeah.
It's only your use magic that costs you physical harm.
Eight.
Okay, so tell us, on a 7 to 9, what do you get to do?
I have 5 options. Where is it now? What is it now planning to do? Who or what is going to attack next? What does it regard as the biggest threat? And how can its attention be attracted? Where is it now? It's very clear.
Okay, I think that when we've seen you look into the other world before, and so we see that same kind of sense of the world going slightly sepia, and you seeing, as well as the world around you, these aspects of the other world. And I think that what you will see is a concentration of this dark shadow that you've sensed lurking under the settlement. There is a concentration beneath that hill fort, that ancient hill fort.
So as soon as Wulfric mentions the hill fort, I like I jerk up. Yes, yeah, that's where it is. That's where it's hiding.
This old hill fort, does it have any active defenses, or is it abandoned?
It's been abandoned since before the Romans. They built a watchtower on the top of it, but when they built the larger building that you're currently in, they let that fall to ruin. It is occupied, Wulfric. The Earl's brother lives in it. Mad Eric.
Okay. Would Wulfric say anything about that, do you think? About the Mad Earl?
I imagine that Wulfric would have, I mean, he's a hired sword. I mean, he would have served under him at some point. He would have a history, I imagine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In that case, then Owen will ask, this man lives in this hill fort. That's quite strange. What can you tell me about him?
I think the difficulty at this point is that Wulfric becomes. I begin to put a hand up his back and begin to make him talk. Eric is the Earl's younger brother, and he's called Mad Eric because he lives up there. They feed him, but he's mad as a box of Celts.
Yeah, it's totally reasonable that nobody has any idea what his deal is.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like he's not out leading raids or anything like that. So,
no, he the only time he leaves that tower on top of the hill fort is to come down to get fed, and that's irregular.
Out of curiosity, has he always been mad, or is there's he was mad, then he switched? You know what I mean? Some event,
Well, I mean, the local Celts say that the entire line is cursed because of the way that they killed the previous occupants of Synhamm, the previous lords of Synhamm. The Earl Widdock's father locked them in a church and set fire to it. And so the Celts reckon that the entire line is cursed.
And the church did just burn down in this village. That's interesting.
To have one church burned down is unfortunate. To have lost two in the last 50 years is positively dangerous. There is a ruin. It's carelessness indeed. There is a ruined church. The original Roman church is located in the shadow of that hill fort. You might just see the ruin.
I think we definitely have the area pinned down. I think we need to investigate the land around that hill fort.
We have to hurry. Let's go. We don't have much time.
I agree.
So let me cut then to that location. You're looking up at the hill fort. You can see away to one side, partly hidden by some trees, a very old ruin. It's generations, a couple of generations old probably. And you can look up at the hill fort and just see this kind of broken toothed tower, round tower, sitting atop it. What do we see you doing?
Really quick, I'm sorry. How do I further heal my harm? Because as such, I only have one more spell before. Yeah. Okay.
It's powerfully dangerous, this magic business, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay.
You wouldn't want to use it for no reason at all. So you are where you are at this point, short of magically healing yourself, which is kind of a yeah.
I don't think. So I think Owen's probably taking the lead. He's probably, moving about somewhat stealthily. Trying.
You should wait here. I will go talk to him. If he is confronted with armed men, he will not want to speak to you.
No, please don't go.
I think that she goes.
I will.
Of course she does.
And I gently lay a hand on your shoulder and I say, "I'll be fine. If you can see this thing, it can see you.
Okay.
And you need to stay with these two because they will keep you safe. I will speak to the Earl. I'll speak to what's his name again?
Mad Eric. Whether he answers to Mad, I'm not certain.
I will speak to Eric. I will get his permission, and anything that he can tell us about the tunnels beneath the tower. We may have to enter through the tower, but you, please, wait here and let me speak to him.
And so I think then we cut to Cecily approaching the tower at the top of the hill fort.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's
if it's possible for me to have brought a loaf of bread or something from town in a little basket, I will totally have that with me.
I think that's exactly how you move about. And I think there's no question here that going on your own to talk to someone who everyone tells you is mad is undoubtedly a trigger for the move. Don't worry, I'll go and look.
Don't worry, I'll look. Whenever you go by yourself to check out something somewhere risky, mark experience, I'll go ahead and do that.
So you are at the top of the hill fort, and there's a granite slab up there on which that creates the foundations for this round tower. The round tower is probably only 15 or 20 feet across, and there are stone steps running up the outside to a hole in the wall, which once was the entry gate. What do we see Cecily doing?
So it looks like the only way in is up the stairs and through that hole in the wall. I just right up the stairs and kind of poke my head in through the opening and say, "Greetings."
And there's a kind of from down below. The wooden floors are long gone. There are some rotting timbers remaining above you. The roof is gone, so it's open to the sky. And as you look down, the daylight that you're getting into that lower level, it appears that there's another set of steps going down the inside wall into what was the cellar. And down there, you can see what looks like a bit of sailcloth that's been kind of wedged up against a wall against the rain.
Like a tarp, basically.
Yeah. And out from behind it comes this hooded in a blanket, old man. He looks old and careworn and uncared for. And he looks at us and says, "What do you want?"
Eric, hello. My name is Cecily. Your brother, he's very ill, and we hope to help him. I've brought you something, and I hope we could speak. And I just kind of, I do that thing where I walk halfway down the steps, and I set the basket down, and then I walk back up a couple of steps, and I just sort of sit down on the top landing to kind of indicate that's my sort of my peace offering, and I'm not gonna, but I'm not otherwise gonna mess with him.
No, I think that's really nice, and so he comes out from under the tarpaulin, and he's looking at you, and then he looks at the basket, looks at you, looks at the basket, you basket, and he kind of crabwise moves across. There's a load of rubbish, the stone has fallen in here, bits of rotting wood. It looks like quite a lot of rubbish that he's accumulated, perhaps. But he crabwise comes to the bottom of those steps, and now he's looking at you and looking at the basket, and he's looking at you as he makes his way up to the basket, and he takes it and begins to gnaw on the bread that you've given him.
And I say, "It's good, just baked this morning. I imagine that you don't get very much fresh food up here."
No. I only get the bad food. The bad food comes here. That's because they're afraid of me. They're afraid of me. They've always been afraid of me.
Uric, many of the saints had visions like you do, and people that didn't understand them were afraid of them too. there are some friends of mine downstairs. They're not going to come in, but we were hoping that you might be able to help us find the thing that's inside the hill.
And his eyes go, how do you know about the king? And at that point, we'll cut to the group at the bottom of the hill. What do the three of you do? How long are you going to give her? She's been gone maybe 10 minutes.
I don't think we're far. I think we're not inside, obviously, but I think Owen will start just sort of creeping up on it to not come inside, not enter the doorway, but just to get to a point where he's at the doorway and he can hear.
So, please, I would have left you guys, like, no kidding, bottom of the hill. Like, not like I'd have been very insistent that, like, you can't be close enough to come charging in, because like if he can look out, if he can look out and see you, that's too close. So
I imagine when you were leaving, there was a scene where I started following you, and you're just like,
yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And then after
there is that burned out church right there.
There's the burned out church. Choices.
I think I would have been picking, although this is not a graveyard, I would have been picking like grave flowers, both kind of as for ritual, but he also wants to pick some flowers to show his appreciation and friendship towards Sicily, and I think he's also doing that in the Mind of the Monster move. So,
okay,
but we don't have to resolve that right now if other people want to act.
No, because I think I'd like the fiction to get a little bit further before the monster has anything else to tell you.
Sure. Yeah.
So I am interested in as Cecily will have pointed out when she left, there is that ruined church over there, not 100 feet away from where you're currently standing. And Icinius may also notice that there are 3 or 4 mounds nearby. In the map, you can probably see them just to the left-hand side of that ruined church. And he will recognize those as Celtic burial mounds. So, we see you at the bottom of the hill fort. We see you looking around. She's disappeared out of sight up the hill. You can see through the trees a ruin. Next to the ruin, some burial mounds. Do I see you do anything?
I think if Owen can't approach without her getting mad and chewing him back off, then he will just frustrated, like, kick at the dirt and then go start checking out the church.
Wulfric, do you go to the church?
Yeah, Wulfric would accompany Owen, along the walk in that direction. Wulfric saying your friend is a fool. Your friend is foolish for going to see Mad Eric by herself. He's a beast. He's not to be trusted. He's just sort of spewing sort of local legends,
And Owen's just sort of like nodding along, telling me something I don't know, but sometimes fools get lucky.
We won't see her again, I tell you.
Because the story goes, he eats local children.
Yes.
Icinius, what are you doing? Are you following Wulfric and Owen?
Yeah, so I was picking the grave flowers, and it looks like the mounds are like kind of right next to that church there. So I'm probably like kind of following along, kind of trailing behind a little bit, but I'm there.
So if you said those are Celtic burial mounds, and we've established that Owen is Celtic and of the old faith, is there a gesture of respect of some sort that would?
Yeah, and I think in that respect, Icinius has got the right idea. You might place some fresh flowers or some food or some drink on the mounds that to help the occupants in the afterlife.
Mm-hmm.
These are entirely, they're just mounds, Wulfric.
Mm-hmm.
They're just, piles of soil.
Yeah. I think Owen would take the offering of food, since that tends to be a something. So like, if I think we probably all brought a little bit of the food that's intended as like a trail snack, and then Cecily is using it as a peace offering, and I'm going to use it as a grave offering. And,
that's fine. So we have that shot of you reverently placing a sliver of cheese on one of these mounds. They all have, though it's much overgrown, in one side or other of them, they'll all have a stone lintel with a piece of stone that blocks them. But I think at that point, I'm going to cut back to the tower where Cecily. How do you know about the king?
I have a friend who told me about him.
Who knows about the king? Who knows about the king?
My friend, he's downstairs. If you'd like, I could take you out to meet them, but I didn't.
No. And he hugs the basket and backs down to the bottom of the stairs.
I didn't think you would want to leave your tower.
No. I need to be here. This is where I need to be. I should be here.
What does... Do you serve this king?
I have something. There is something I'm supposed to do. But I can't. I sometimes forget what it is.
If you tell me...
He becomes distracted and begins to turn away from you back towards his lean-to.
Maybe I can help you.
And he... How? I need to remember. I need to remember.
If you wait here, I'll return, and I might be able to help you remember.
Yes, perhaps. And rather dispiritedly, he heads back and disappears under the sailcloth.
And I bop out down the stairs, and I go running pell-mell down the hill back towards my friends.
At that point, and I'll cut from you just heading out back to the three cavalieros downstairs, and I think I see all three of you in the. You've paid your respects, Owen. I dare say Icinius has done the same with his flowers, but I see all three of you in the ruins of this church. It's a grander building than the one that's been built in the town since, but it's clearly showing signs of long gone fire damage.
Yeah. I think with the Icinius and Owen making their offerings, Wulfric would probably be the first one to make it into the church if he wants to do anything.
That's fair, Wulfric.
Yes, I imagine that Wulfric's probably very superstitious. I mean, this is not, again, this is not his wheelhouse. So, although, I mean, let me ask you just sort of at a meta level, Alan. Saxons, I mean, would they be converting to Christianity at this point? I mean, would he acknowledge that this is, sort of a Christian church, or?
I think that probably his response to this is the place where his lord's father burned the previous Romano-British Christian rulers of Synhamm alive and all their
Gotcha.
followers. So I think there are rare Saxon converts, but I think that this is more. I think you were right first time. This is a place of haunting.
Gotcha. So it's just the fact that people were killed here is enough to make this sort of yeah. So he's still respectful, I guess I would say, or acknowledges, the importance of this place. Can I? How long ago would this have happened? I mean, I guess I was going to try to, just sort of look around or perhaps trigger a move, but
it was at least 50 years ago.
Oh, okay, so
Because
gotcha.
the Earl is old now,
Gotcha.
and he was born here when his father was still the mercenary head of the guards who protected this place before he decided to take over.
Gotcha. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, merely just looking around and then waiting for the other two to join him.
Okay, so we see you looking round, and that's when Owen and Icinius, if he wants to, come into the ruins.
Yeah, I think that when Owen was paying his respects, I think that Asinius was like kind of correcting how to do that. But if Wulfric were to look, he would see that he was correcting him wrongly, because he's not as educated as he hopes to be, but the intention was there. But eventually, Asinius does like if Owen, like Asinius would follow Owen in if Owen goes in.
I think it's fair to tell you that most of the stone here has been cannibalized to build the new church in the village. But there is, you can clearly see the outline. Some of the floor tiles are still visible through all this undergrowth that's grown over the years. Some cracked pillars lying on their side. Is there anything you want to do here? Or I can cut straight back to Cecily arriving out of breath.
What's the area where the... Sorry, go ahead.
I would like to Otherworld investigate, but I mean we can let Owen, like that takes me a minute, or that takes Asinius a minute to kind of calibrate. So if we want to let Owen act first, that's fine.
Go ahead, Owen.
So I think Owen would be careful to enter the ruin from where he can best figure out where the door would be, and then approach where he thinks the altar would have been, and see if he can see anything there.
It looks like the altar's been removed. I wouldn't be terribly surprised to find that it's the same altar that's been repurposed for the village church. But there is certainly there are certainly some slabs set into the ground around where the altar would be. Was there anything specific you had in mind?
Not really. This is more of just Owen paying some sort of respect to the old church rather than an actual mechanical thing.
And you will notice that, as is common, in many churches, slabs around the altar have inscriptions or have carvings in them of one kind or another. Wulfric, anything before we see what the other world might have to offer?
No, he's watching the two of them and waiting for Cecily to come back.
Okay, well then I think Icinius will cut to you getting that kind of slightly kind of unfocused look on your face as you look through the fabric, the skein of reality into the other world. And would you like to tell me which move you're going to roll and roll the dice? You're muted.
Investigate gives me Otherworld, but Look About You does not. Look About You is more interesting.
Isn't that a bitch?
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna look. about you. We'll say that I'm using the second sight, but I just won't take the mechanical bonus for it, if that's okay.
Fine. So look about you.
6 plus, what is it?
Sense.
So 7. I rolled a 7. So what or who is the biggest threat?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I think that you believe. Remind me what the cost of your powers are. What are the things that sometimes happen around your powers? Violent rage, guilt, and hallucinations. Yes,
yeah,
I remember.
Yeah.
I think that when you seek to pierce the other world, through to the other world, what you see are a number of shadows. It's almost as though shadows are cast on what's left of the walls and the floors here. But there is no figures casting those shadows. And those shadows are a threat. Okay? And with that, I think I'm going to have Cecily arrive panting at the church.
Yes, and Cineas. Hi, Cineas. I need your amulet. I need to borrow it. I'll bring it back. And I take my whatever, like my scarf, and I kind of hold it out so that I'm gonna clearly wrap it so that I'm not actually touching it myself.
I have some grave flowers left over, and I put the grave flowers on top of the scarf, and then I put the amulet on top of the grave flowers, and then I wrap it up, and then I close your hands over it.
Okay.
And I please be careful.
I'll bring it back to you, but I think I can really help somebody with it. Thank you. And I look at the two of them, and I kind of look up at the church and I sigh, kind of this sad sigh, and turn and back up the hill.
I look at Owen and Wolfric and I say, with the amulet gone, we're now in grave danger. And I'm looking at the shadow, like where the feet are of the shadow.
Yeah, there are no feet there, obviously, but yeah, and nobody else can see the shadows.
Then perhaps we should not be separated any longer, and Owen will start stalking after her.
No, Owen, we made a promise. We have to trust her. I hate it.
We promised, she went up, she came back, promised fulfilled. Let's go.
Any further objections, Anthonius?
Just the objection of consternation on my face.
Are you seeking to convince Owen not to go?
Yeah, you've got a mechanical carrot that you can lay out there.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I am. I stand fast. I go, no, there's danger here that we must deal with. Look.
I'll look where he's pointing. Do I see anything?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Asinius, you know I don't have the eyes you do. What do you see? And what do you think we must do?
When this was burnt down, the spirits that remained were left angry. I think I put my hand on your sword,
technically I have an axe. Or
okay,
I have a boot knife or whatever.
So yeah, I just I put my hand on your knife, and I say, we must make sure that they rest. They must rest. They're not resting. Can I make the roll, or?
I think that's sufficient fictional positioning to give you an opportunity to convince a PC. So roll plus subtle.
4. I rolled a 4.
Well, then mark experience. And Owen, you have no obligation to even listen to him. What do you do?
And can Mark? He actually marks experience if he decides not to listen to him, right? Is that how that works?
Only if he succeeded with the roll.
No, on a 6- it says they mark experience if they decide not to do what you asked.
Yeah,
and may question your honor.
Sorry, you're quite right.
So I don't think this is a moment where Owen would be questioning your honor per se, but he's definitely not convinced. If we need to help the spirits here, they will be here when we return. I don't think this is our primary concern right now. And he will then stalk off.
So, yes, well spotted, Jim. Sorry, I should know my own rules better. Icinius marks experience for the failure, and Owen marks experience for ignoring the plea. Wulfric, what do you do?
Follow Owen.
Icinius, what do you do?
I follow Owen. Yeah.
You're just a kid after all.
Yeah.
We cut back to Cecily arriving even more out of breath at the top of the steps into the tower. What do we see Cecily do?
I descend the steps, and this time I just walk right down, all the way down the steps into his, like into his little, I don't know, his little pit. And I say, Yurik, it's Cecily. I have something that I think might be able to help you remember what the king wants.
And he looks out from behind the sailcloth and says, do I remember you?
I brought you bread.
Oh, the bread lady. You're the bread lady.
I'm the bread lady. And I smile, and I whatever. There's a, like a slab of, like just a little broken slab of stone or something. And I kind of lay the bundle down on it, and I unfold it. And I kind of take it, and I sort of put my hands next to it, and I take a step back, and I say, do you recognize this? I think it belonged to the king.
And he looks at it, a confused look, and reaches out to it and picks it up and goes, This is what I was supposed to find. This. Look for the snake and the lion, the king said. Look for the snake and the lion. And there's a snake. And that's not like a snake. At its head. Look for the snake and the lion. You brought me the snake and the lion. Bread lady, you brought me the snake and the lion.
What are you supposed to do with it now?
I'm supposed to help the king. Help the king. I'm supposed to help the king. Come. Look. And I think you see him, he scurries to the middle of the floor.
Okay.
First time you've looked at the floor, really, and he moves some debris away from the middle of this floor, this cellar floor.
Mm-hmm.
And the cellar floor is faced with flint. Cobbles of flint that have been split and laid with their dark heart up. And he clears stuff away, and you can see that he points at one of these cobbles, one of these little flakes of one of these concave bits of flint. And flint is never entirely black. It always has imperfections in it. And he points at one, and there is an imperfection that looks like a sinuous shape with a blob at one end. And he says, it's about that.
And I like make a gesture like, go ahead.
What do you mean?
Put it there.
And he lays it on the flint. And you notice a slight change underneath the pendant. It's almost as though a faint amount of light emits from underneath it. That's probably a good point to have Owen arrive at the bottom of the stairs outside the tower, followed by Wulfric and Icinius. All is quiet inside the tower. What do you do, Owen?
I'll climb the steps up to the doorway and try and just glance in without, making it obvious, that peeking around the corner thing. Can't hear you.
Beg your pardon. Given that Cecily and Eric are focused on the floor, I don't think there's any chance they're going to notice you if you look around the corner, and you will see them, kneeling on the floor, doing something. And maybe because it's not fully lit down there, there's some daylight that percolates in, but maybe you are seeing some dim light casting them into a kind of silhouette.
Is the light some obviously weird color that's different than sunlight, or?
It's I think I describe it as a white light.
Okay. So yes.
Okay.
You're at the top of the stair, Owen.
Yep.
You can see this down in the basement level. Wulfric is on the stair behind you, and I'm guessing Icinius is on the stair behind him. So you're in the driving seat, Owen. What do you do?
I think I think he would probably, seeing that light, that unnatural light, would probably assume that something supernatural is going on at that point, and start walking in. Actually, probably start rushing in, because now he's worried something's about to happen. So they probably hear footsteps on the stairs. Yeah,
with no effort to conceal your arrival, I think Cecily will, as soon as you take a step down those stairs at pace, will look up and see you. Cecily, do you do anything, or do you just wait for him?
I hold up a hand to Yurik and I say, "These are my friends. It's all right. They're here to help you. They're looking for the king too," I say.
I think that probably, given that this is a bit on the spur of the moment, I don't think this is a convince. I think this is an act under pressure. Can you, on the spur of the moment, just pin him down and stop him scurrying away?
Sure. Well...
Or do you want to try convince?
I want to try convince, because that's kind of where I put my points.
Yeah, fair enough. No, that's fair point.
Like if I had to grab him and hold him, sure, but this is just, no, it's okay. Stay calm.
Yeah.
Everything's good. You can keep trusting me is basically what I'm asking for here. So
go for it. Convince.
9 plus 2 gets me to 11.
Well, I think that we count that as success in these games, don't we? So they'll do it for the reason that you gave him, which is they're your friends and they can help.
Well, and they want to help the king too.
Okay. So he initially starts and grabs the pendant, but then kind of relaxes, but he's eyeing Owen and Wulfric. Well, Wulfric comes in because Wulfric's a hard bastard, and he's eyeing him particularly. The kid on the end, I don't think is a concern to him as much right now. If he had a roll that said what's the biggest threat, he's looking at Wulfric.
And Just a quick note. What happened to the light as he took the amulet away?
Light? What light? Disappeared.
Disappeared? Okay. Okay, then upon reaching the bottom of the stairs, Owen will approach a little bit more slowly now that he can't see the slide anymore, and he's like, Cecily, are you okay? I saw
Owen,
the strangest light.
this is Yurik. He serves the king that lives under the hill, and he's going to help us find him.
And Owen's going to give her a very perplexed look, but sort of pick up what she's putting down and say, that's great news. It's a pleasure to meet you, Eric. We've heard all about you from your brother. Like, not sure if he's stepping on anything there. But...
No, I don't. I think quite who his brother is a little vague for Eric.
Mm-hmm.
He knows he has one, and he knows that he gives him food, but I don't think you need to worry about the social niceties. Yeah. So I see you all at the bottom of the, either on the steps or in the base of the tower.
Did either of our tacticians want to look about just to see what's going on as they're coming in?
Sure. I mean, you know, I'd be happy to. Yeah. I mean, I think Wulfric probably exchanged an icy look at Eric, and I mean, just use the opportunity to sort of take a look and just, you know, sort of the living conditions, you know, just anything of interest that would be, in the basement.
Okay, then roll plus sense.
I apologize. Here we go. Reroll selected. I beg your pardon. So that would be a 5 plus 1 is a 6. So.
This is a circumstance, I think, where anyone with a bit of nous will be looking about and saying, "Have you noticed so?" Mm-hmm. So, does anybody want to help? With that?
I think Owen will also
be
looking around, and he probably also would have had his eyes peeled just on the descent as things were going on too, so we can justify it that way. And that's plus sense. So that's a 9.
Okay, so I think that I think what that does is to nudge that up from 6 to 7. So on a 7 to 9, Wulfric.
Sorry,
that gives you one question, I think.
Mechanically, it was actually plus steel because you were rolling to help.
Okay, that's actually a 10 then, I believe.
Thought it might be, which is why I apologize for interrupting, but I thought that might bump it by 1, so I want to make sure we got the right thing in there.
That's fine. No, I need you to watch my rule set constantly, Jim. So, Wulfric, that gives you 3 hold. What questions do you want to ask?
So I think he's constantly on the lookout, of course, for threats and dangers. So, you know, are there any dangers here that we haven't noticed yet?
No, that's one hold.
It's one hold, but
I'm not involved. Basically, yes, I'm not caught up in it because I have the 10, which pumped him up to a 7 because he had a 6.
Gotcha. So it's still essentially just one question is what I'm getting. The one hold. Yeah, you know, I mean, are there any dangers here that we haven't noticed?
You're prone to visions, aren't you? I think that Wulfric's concern is that this is raising the spectre of an old Celtic myth about the king in Flint. And that, I think, might be a reasonable point for us to take a short break while we contemplate that piece of information. So by my reckoning, it's 27 minutes past the hour. Can I suggest that we reconvene at 25 to the hour? time for a hot drink and a bio break. See you in about 8 minutes. Okay, just waiting on Jim. Can I just check in whether my whether I'm breaking up at all? Because I've had some internet problems this week. Is all well? That's a relief. We'll give Jim a minute. I'm getting slightly worried, so we'll make a start, and Jim can rejoin when he can. So yes, I think it's fair to say that Wulfric knows that the local Celts have a myth about something called the King in Flint, but he knows no more than that.
Okay. And if I recall earlier, you said that that Cecily and Mad Eric were sort of hovering over a piece of flint. I mean, would that flint still be on the floor between them? I mean,
let me be clear. When you looked about you, what you can see under all the debris and fallen timbers and stuff that litters this floor is that the entire floor is laid with flint cobbles, shiny black side up.
Gotcha.
And Eric drew Cecily's attention to one of those.
So is Cecily still speaking with Eric, or is everyone kind of just sort of taking in the moment?
I'm going to assume that until Jim's back in the game, that he that Cecily is comforting Eric, who's alternating between a degree of hysterical elation and just hysteria. Yeah.
So, I mean, once again, I guess Wulfric has, no social graces whatsoever. And I mean, I maybe this is a great opportunity for Wulfric to just sort of interrupt, to raise his voice. And, he gets, he moves over to Eric and, grabs him by the sort of the cuff of his rags and, just gruffly, just, what is this? What is this flint? I remember some silliness about a king in Flint.
And I think that you just triggered fear me, which is seeking convinced with intimidation.
Yes. And let's see, I can use my savage instead of subtle, which is perfect. I've got a +2 on savage, so let me give that a roll. And that's good that I do. Well, it's not even enough. My goodness, I'm just rolling 5s. So I got 5 + 2, which is 7, just barely enough to get a hold. There we go.
For NPCs on a 7, they'll do it if you do something for them first. And Eric, in a sudden moment of clarity, looks you straight in the eye and says, "Then find the leaf."
The leaf.
And then he's off gibbering again.
I give the rest of the party, the rest of the group, kind of a quizzical look. The leaf. I mean, does this resonate with anyone?
Can I make a roll or something to determine whether I picked anything up?
I won't waste your time. No one has mentioned a leaf in any significant sense. Up until now, they've been the things on the trees.
Can you help us find Eric?
He kind of focuses on you, having had his, been shaken by Wulfric, and he says, "No, but I know," and he points at another bit of the floor. What do you do when he points at another bit of the floor?
Like take a look at that. I mean, like we found a couple of places in the church. We pulling the floor up was how we found that box.
When you go to the area of floor he indicates and clear the debris from that, you'll find a flint with another imperfection, and this one is in the shape of an oak leaf. I won't mess you about. It's an oak leaf shaped.
Oh, so does that? So, what does the amulet have on the other side of it?
All it had, I think, was some Latin inscription.
Okay, and then but where he put it in was with the snake there. It's possible. So does it look like another place where you would put another amulet?
In as much as he's pointed at it, and there is a similar but differently shaped imperfection in it.
But like same size and stuff like that.
Yeah. He's pointed at it for a reason, and I think it's perfectly legitimate for you to come to the conclusion that if you could find the leaf, that might be where you're supposed to put it.
The church, I say. We found the snake in the new church beneath the altar. We should look there for the leaf.
Or perhaps we should look at the old burned out church.
Yes,
here.
That's what I meant. Yes, the church here. I remember the spot where we found it.
Icinius, I think it is fair for me to tell you, or for you to know, that the oak leaf is a symbol of the old religion.
Yeah. I wonder if it would. I think we should check the church where you're suggesting, but I wonder if maybe in the mound.
Just for clarity, is Icinius talking about the grave mounds or this giant mound that we're on?
I think
we don't have much time. We don't have much time. You delve into the mound. I'll go look in the church because I remember where it was.
I will delve into the mound.
And I'll kind of I'm up the stairs and off to head down to the church.
Don't worry, Cecily will look.
Mm-hmm.
What do the rest of you do?
I call out after her and I'm like, watch out for the shadows. That's all I say.
I smile, nod, wave.
So what do the rest of the three of you do?
Owen will now look at Icinius a little bit incredulously. Oh, now you think we should split up? Yes. Do you think the shadows are actually a danger to her?
Of course. But we have to find the leaf.
Right, let's go.
And then my eyes like roll in the back of my head or whatever.
I'm surprised Icinius ever sees anything. The amount of time that his eyes spent roll back into his head. So where exactly are the three of you going to go? I know where Cicely's heading. I don't know exactly where the three of you are going.
So I think we'll ask Wulfric to lead us to one of these tunnels he mentioned under the into the depths of the mound.
So into the hill fort, not the burial mounds. I just want to be clear.
Yes.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, there are two tunnels that at some time or other have been dug into the side of this hill fort. By whom and by when, nobody knows. So pick a tunnel entrance. They certainly predate the time that the Saxons have been in charge here. So we're talking again around, before the time that church was burned down. Yeah.
So the first thing I do is I sit down and I want to investigate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So while you're doing that, I just want to cut to Sicily at the church, the burned out church. Sicily, what do we see you doing when you get there?
I go in. I go right to the altar. And I start. And I take my staff and I start tapping it on the ground to try and find, because like before there was that one slab that kind of like went a little wonky, and that was how we figured out what it was. And I'm kind of pressing each of the slabs with my staff to try and locate, to see if there's a one in roughly the same spot as there was in the other church.
Or whether there's a hollow sound or something similar. Yeah. And these are those slabs that it's not the altar because that's been moved. It's the slabs around the altar where there are a variety of inscriptions and whatever. Okay, I see you doing that. You've marked experience for going to do something dangerous.
Yep.
Fine. Right. I want to cut back to the other three, where Icinius is looking into the other world to investigate one of these tunnels.
Yeah, so the investigate move is one of the questions is where did it go? So I'm actually, where did the amulet or the leaf amulet go? So that's where I'm focusing my energy.
Before you invest too much into that, I think the question is, do you know it's an amulet? You're making some assumptions there, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm making an assumption.
Okay.
Yeah.
So go ahead, roll for that, and then I'll cut back to Sicily.
I rolled an 11.
Okay. I'll tell you the answer in a moment. Sicily. There's nothing. You're not finding a wobble.
Okay.
So far. Do you want to investigate formally?
Oh yeah, let's do that. Let me roll the investigate move. I'm rolling plus sense, which for me is +1.
Yeah.
And that gets me to a 10.
So, which question do you want to ask, or questions, should I say, do you want to ask? Ask one of them now.
What were they trying to do?
And a voice in your head says, escape. Okay? I want to cut back to Icinius.
Yes.
Go for it.
So I went to where the leaf is supposed to go, and I start like looking and asking the spirits, speaking to the spirits, and I'm asking, where did it go? Where did the leaf go? You're muted.
You rolled a dice. I didn't notice where it was.
Yeah.
Then go ahead. I will tell you the answer to that question is the spirits say it was buried with its owner.
Okay.
Cut back to Sicily. You're muted, Jim.
The other question is, What can hurt it?
And the voice in your head says, the leaf and the snake. And I think it's fair for me to tell you that there are a number of slightly difficult to focus on shadowy figures standing in a circle around you.
All right.
Okay, I'll cut back to Icinius. Icinius, what do you want to do?
So I asked Wulfric, where was the king buried?
I mean, Wulfric's very happy to. I'm very happy for Wulfric to answer that one, but given this is an old Celtic myth, I think he might struggle to come up with a reliable answer.
And then I looked to Eric, and the brother of the Earl was Eric, right? I asked him, where was the king buried?
The king isn't buried. The king's just asleep.
Where is he sleeping?
And then I'll cut back to Cecily, who I think has one question left.
No, I get two. I'm good.
So I think what he will say is, and he look at you kind of as though, in Flint.
Were the mine are these mines beneath the hill fort?
They're tunnels. Wulfric doesn't know what's in there. They've stored some stuff occasionally, but to be honest, it's pretty damp and not particularly safe. So the Saxons have never gone terribly far into these tunnels.
Okay. I have one question left, but I don't really have a question that really applies to the next.
Well, you ask me a straightforward question, and I'll judge whether how best I can answer it if I can.
Well, where is the king buried? The leaf was interred with the body of the owner, right? So who's the owner?
Buried with its owner.
Yeah. So who is the owner?
I genuinely don't think Eric can answer that question.
Well, I tell this to Owen and Wulfric, and I say the leaf is buried with its owner, but I don't know who the owner is. I believe the owner is the king, but Eric says the king
isn't buried, is just asleep.
It's just asleep.
So unless everybody else wants to do anything with that specifically, I'm inclined to cut to a scene which sees you around the mouth of one of these tunnels, because that's where I've still got Owen and Wulfric placed. Icinius has, in the fiction at least, gone back to ask Wulfric the question about, where's the king buried, or, tell me about the king in Flint. And Cicely is not very far away in the church, coming back from the church, having come up dry in terms of a neat oak brooch, but having had a conversation with somebody that wasn't corporeal. So that's where I see you, the four of you at the base of the hill fort, contemplating. What are you contemplating?
I look to Ian, and I say, we need to go inside. There's something here, and it's whatever it is that's here is trapped, and that's what's hurting everybody.
There was also Istinius mentioned something about the leaf being buried with its owner, which disturbing graves is never a cheery endeavor and often brings more trouble than it's worth. But let us see what's in these tunnels.
This is not a grave. It's a jail.
Be that as it may, let's see what's in here and regroup afterwards. So, and then he'll, go into the tunnel. Equipment-wise, is it assumed that we'd have torches or light of some sort, or do we need to?
I'm very, very happy for us to montage a collection of some torches from the Great Hall, and to see you stooping as you enter this dark hole. It's not a question I get to ask very often these days, but what order are you walking through the passageway in?
Owen's almost definitely going in front.
Volunteers for number 2?
I guess I'm happy to go number 2. I don't know if, tactically, would it make sense to put the
I think Owen would argue for you taking up the rear.
Okay, that's what I was getting at. Thanks. Yeah.
And the two of us in the middle, kind of, probably like if it's super narrow, we'll walk. I think I would have I would want Isinius to walk right in front of me. I'm holding a torch, and I've got a hand on his shoulder.
I imagine that if anything unforeseen were to go on, you'd immediately step between him and whatever it was.
We'll see what happens.
Okay. It is low. It's probably no more than 5 foot high. And you can see that while there are quite a few timbers holding up the roof of this passage, those timbers are rotten and very, very old. And you go perhaps 20 or 30 feet down this tunnel, further than I think Wulfric any Saxon has gone. In the first 5 or 10 feet, you might have found some empty grain sacks from the last time somebody stored anything here. And then you come to a large stone slab, which clearly predates any of this woodwork. What do you do, Owen? Because you are at the sharp end.
Mm-hmm. We'll lift up the torch, try and get some more light on it, see if I see any markings on it or any openings or any indentations.
Certainly, I think you will see that it has been carved, but they are, whatever the carvings were, are long, overgrown with moss and eroded by the flow of water through the mound. But there is certainly a crack running down through the top of this slab.
Okay, can I see anything through the crack, or is it just like a hairline crack?
It's more than a hairline, but it would be big enough to try and get some lever into, but there's no light on the other side, so nothing is coming out, so you can't see anything beyond.
Okay, I will pass my torch backwards and tell them to back up a ways just in case, and I will take out my axe and lever it into the crack and try and open up this slab.
Okay. The nearest thing I can think to ask you to do would be to face danger with steel, I think, because this is as much about focusing your force in the right place as it is about brute strength and ignorance. So go ahead, roll with steel to give me an idea of how well this goes.
Pretty terribly, even though that's my best stat.
So that gets you all the way to 6, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I'm sorry. Is this something that I might be able to help with? I was gonna offer. Yeah.
Yeah. So with steel again, please, Wilfric. You're a big lad. Come on.
Okay, so that's 6 and 3 is a 9, plus a 1 is a 10.
Okay. So on a 10 plus, you add 1, and that gets a bit of leverage. I think that you think, Owen, that you can make this crack wider, but it is certainly going to shear the head of your axe from the haft. You can feel it just giving as you just push to lever it. That's the hard choice.
Okay, I pictured this differently. I pictured the butt end going in and just levering with that.
I think the trouble is that your crack's not big enough to get the haft in. So you're having to put the sharp end of the axe in that small gap and just trying to lever it by pushing the axe sideways.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay.
I've got a knife.
Yeah. What more do you need? You're a dangerous man with any weapon. So you push, and at the point where the haft gives way, so does some of the stonework, and you've now got a big enough crack to work together to lever at least part of this slab out of the way. And when you put the torch through, we see just a space, an open space. And there could be something set in the wall opposite. It's maybe 10, 15 feet across, but you'll need to go in to have a close look at it. And if and when you do go in, does everybody else follow him? Yeah, I'm seeing nods. Okay. In you go, Owen. The team's with you.
All right. Owen will go in cautiously. He probably hasn't taken his torch back, so he's just sort of letting his eyes acclimate to the dark and whatever light is coming from the torches behind.
Yeah, I'm like holding it up close so that he can, kind of holding it up over his head so that hopefully it shines in there to help him out.
You've never seen one of these, but because your parents kept you informed about the old faith. I think it's fair to tell Owen that this is a burial chamber of some description, and there is on a ledge set into the opposite wall. There appears to be something wrapped up in skins, maybe. What do you do? All 4 of you are now in this space.
Can I move forward and investigate that item?
You don't need to go forward. You can just call on the spirits to give you a view of what's here. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I will. I rolled a 5.
You guys are really playing a stormer. With advantage too. Goodness me. Okay. I think that what happens is that a voice says to you, "Why have you come to disturb the dead, boy?" What does Asinius do?
I I take a step. I take kind of a shocked step back because I did start creeping forward, and then I take like a shocked step back, and I say, "We're here to heal the rift between worlds."
And I think that then the rest of you've got the torch, and clearly it's throwing your shadows about. But at the far end of this space where this ledge is, another shadow begins to resolve. What do any of you do? I mean, technically, Owen is still closest to it, but because the space opened up, presumably so have you, rather than staying in a absolute line. So any one of you could act.
I think Owen will be, shouting for everybody to leave. Like, there's danger. There's a vile spirit here. We must make haste and depart. I will see if I can get what we came for, but leave me and go.
Wulfric, Cecily, what do you do?
Wulfric, you're the man of action. Why don't you?
Yeah, I think this is, once again, not his wheelhouse. I mean, he's, I think he would, goodness, I hate to suggest running away, but I think, yeah, this would scare him shitless.
Well, I think that what you've just told me is that we need to determine how well you face this danger, Wulfric. So would you face danger for me?
Sure. Is that a
It's roll plus steal.
plus steal? Okay.
Just how much of your shit do you keep together?
So that's a 7 + 1's an 8. So I guess he's keeping it relatively well, not terribly, but not great either.
It's an ordered retreat.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, on
That's
7,
cool.
on 7 to 9, it's less ordered than you might have liked. If you leave now, you will leave Cecily stranded. In the sense that we know that Owen is backing out. If you
Right, I was telling them to go. Owen was going to try and find something first.
So you're a big man. If you run now, you will stop Cecily getting out very easily. That's your hard choice.
I'm afraid to say I got to play the moment and play the character. This isn't like a tangible risk, you know what I mean, or a tangible thing that he can that he's accustomed to. So yeah, I'm afraid to say that he is still running.
Okay, so Cecily, you can't get out immediately. Are you just waiting for a space to arrive, or do you have other plans?
No, I say it's the shadows. They're in the shadows, and I've got my torch, and I had Owen's torch, right? And I drop them both to the ground and stamp them out so that it's dark and there are no shadows.
Oh, that's great. So we see you grinding them into the dust of the ground beneath you, and suddenly it's entirely dark. Icinius, what do you do?
I cast a spell that causes the wrapped item to fly to me.
Hey, so talk me through that one. Just so you're going to use magic, so that'll cost you harm. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. And just confirm to me which of the magical effects at the bottom of your playbook you're using, you're aiming for.
So I summon I summon a spirit, the spirit of the flint that's around us, and I I command it to bring the item to me.
I think it would be the do one thing that is beyond human limitations, perhaps.
Because I was going to say,
I missed that one. Yeah.
I just want to be clear how you were going to achieve this. Okay, so you're busily casting that spell. We'll come back to you in a moment. Yeah. Owen, you are nearest, or you were nearest to your objective before it went entirely pitch black in this room, in this space. What do you do?
So it's entirely pitch black, so I can't rely on my sight. Do I hear anything?
No, you think, I mean, in your mind's eye, it's ahead of you. You were looking at it and you were all set to make a lunge for it. Yeah. So you could make a lunge, and I'd ask you to face danger to determine how effectively you get to where you think you need to be.
And how big was this item, just out of curiosity?
This looked like a body wrapped in skins or rotting cloth.
Okay, yeah, I'll go for it. So let's face danger.
That's right. So plus steel.
Okay, there we go. That's much better. That's an 11 before adding anything.
Well, we needn't worry then. So you lunge forward, and in your hands, you feel that you've found this body. Now, what do you do?
I'm going to try and unwrap it, give it a quick pat down for hard objects that aren't like. I'm looking for something solid that would be like a possession of some sort.
Okay. So you're kind of tearing through the wrappings, just looking, feeling for something. Yes.
Yeah.
We'll judge how well that goes in a moment. In the meantime, let's see whether Icinius has any luck with do something that's beyond normal human limitations, i.e., to draw something, and in your mind's eye, what are you imagining that you're drawing towards you? You're muted.
An amulet, probably similar to the other one, but with some sort of, oak leaf.
Fine. So in you're visualizing that, and you're just drawing it towards you. That's quite cool, because what we feel, because we would see this on screen, even though it's completely dark, but we see Owen's hands, feeling through. He feels bones. There's a rib. He feels a sternum, and then there's something moving under his hand, as though trying to move away. Let's see how well that magic goes, Icinius. Roll plus soul.
10.
That goes terribly well, because it becomes very clear that rather than just the bones moving, there is something in the shape, Owen, of an oak leaf moving under your hand. What do you do?
Grab it.
Yeah, I take it, and I have it. I have it.
Hang on. Because you conjured this move, so you set a spirit to send it to you, because Owen was actually on the body.
Oh, okay.
Literally kind of flies into his hand on its way to you, so he grabs it.
Starts getting yanked back.
Yeah. So if you hang on to it, it comes to me, and I clasp my hand over your hand, and I'm like, we have it.
So in the dark, we have Owen and Icinius with their arms wrapped around one another. Wulfric is swiftly heading towards the light. Cecily, you put the torches out. What do you do now? You muted.
Just testing, just checking to make sure you guys are paying attention. I say to Icinius, there are no shadows, but there still may be things here. And I kind of point him in the direction of where we came through. and I say, I'll be safe, but they can see you, so you need to go. Be careful. Keep your hand along the wall. And I'm activating the protect move because I have a thing where I can protect people by telling them what to do. Let's get out of here. When you protect someone by telling them what to do or by leading them to safety, roll plus subtle instead of plus savage. Actually, you know what? Since it's leading them to safety, I say, take my hand and I'll lead us out.
Always good in a panic.
Yeah.
Go for it.
All right. So I'm rolling plus subtle, which is +2 for me. So I got 8 and 2. That gets me to 10 on the protect. So I've got some hold if we need it for whatever we encounter on our way out.
So in effect, on a 10, then protect someone. On 10 plus, also choose 1. So you get them out. Yeah. That's not a problem. The question is, on a 10 plus, also choose 1. Is one of those?
So this.
I'm just fictionally. What do you want to happen? Is what I'm saying to you.
Oh, fictionally, the harm is now focused on me.
Okay.
That I've drawn the attention of whatever it is by stamping out the light, by foiling its plans, by fibbing to the guy upstairs, whatever it is that they're upset with, they're mad at me now.
Fine. That's just what I needed. Okay, so Wulfric, you're first out of the tunnel. And what do? Keep running or spin round?
I think spin around. I mean, I think it was the room that was, and the shadows that were. So I would just wait outside. Yeah.
And what you notice, I think, are crows circling the tower at the top of the hill fort. Yeah. What do you do, if anything, or do you wait?
Do I have can I still hear the group? I mean, can I detect whether they're coming or they are still dealing with whatever was in there?
I think you're certainly out of the tunnel, because it's not enormously long. Will echo the voice of Cecily saying, "I know the way. Come with me. Follow me." Yeah.
I from the tunnel's entrance, I'm yelling, signaling to the group, "This way!" And I'm waving the lantern to try to make, just to try to be as helpful as I can given the circumstance.
I say once they get organized in there, and once Cecily takes the lead and just says, "Follow me," she grabs Isinius's hand. He's got hold of Owen, and so once she gets turned around and orientated, getting towards the light and you is not a particular problem. So I see you all kind of rushing out of this darkness to find Wulfric waiting. And then what do you do?
And I point at Wulfric and I say, "You are brave enough when you are raiding villages, but you couldn't stay there?"
I don't know what
I am questioning your honor is what I'm doing right now.
To do that. So if you look at the basic moves, you will find I've lost it.
Bottom right hand corner.
Right. When your honor is publicly questioned, roll plus subtle. What do you do, Wulfric? You roll plus subtle and we find out.
Let's see. And it's okay, so that's a 7 minus a 1, I think is my subtle. I'll double check. Yes, it is -1. So I'm a 6.
On a 6, you are dishonored until such time as you can somehow earn your way out of that. And mark fate. and expect any relevant local laws to apply. Well, we won't worry about that one in this circumstance. So reduce your fate by 1, and
Gotcha.
burden is now on you to demonstrate that you deserve to be honored.
Gotcha.
And as I say, you can hear these crows calling as they circle the tower. What do you do, the 4 of you?
I spin and I say, "Did you get it?"
I take the item and I open it up and I look at what we have.
You have a rotted leather thong, but a bronze leaf, an oak leaf in bronze.
And I touch it with my hand.
Would you roll to face danger, Icinius?
Yes. Which one is that? Face danger is steel. Nine.
So on a 7 to 9, I think that you are convinced that
Can I help? Can I help?
I don't think you can in this because of the nature of the item. Because in the same way as when he grasped the other, he got a distinct impression of what was necessary. And on that occasion, you concluded that the lion-headed snake was necessary to save Synhamm. When you grasp this one, you know that this will also help save Synhamm, but it will cost you dear. Do you wish to proceed to save Synhamm?
I look.
While you're thinking about that, is there anyone who wants to act?
I think Owen will look up at the tower and see the crows circling and say, "That's a fell omen. We'd best hurry," and start walking, but see if everybody follows after. Taking
Wilfred, what do you do?
I think Wolfric would let out some frustration. I mean, try to frighten the crows. It's almost like
at this point, I need to know: are you running up the side of the old hill fort towards the tower around which the crows are circling?
I think he would. Yeah, I mean, he's got to vent this out. He knows that he's shamed himself, and I mean, he's just looking for something basically to beat up, right? And the first thing he sees are these crows, and yes.
And the fact it's a fell omen is simply an incentive. Cecily, what do you do?
I'm going to gather up Icinius and kind of make sure he's all right, and then the 2 of us are going to follow them up the hill.
Well, Icinius, let's see.
I shouldn't say the 2 of us are going to follow. I'm going to try and get him to come with me up the hill.
So, Icinius, what?
I kind of snap to, and I actually jump up on a rock, and I call out to Wolfric, and I say, "Wolfric, does Synhamm deserve to be saved?" And it's kind of calling out your honor, but that just kind of happened. But I'm questioning whether, given how you reacted in that situation, I'm judging the town because you're kind of the town's representative to me.
So no responsibility then, Wolfric.
I mean, I think that would just the fact that you're asking that question would make Wolfric feel even, it's almost like doubling down on the sense of shame. I mean, is this in progress? I mean, is this in making our way up to the tower where the crows are?
I jumped up on a rock and I'm like making a stand and I'm holding up the thing and I say, "Does this town deserve to be saved?"
Yeah.
Or are you all cowards?
Wulfric doesn't do passionate speeches, though. So this has got to be like, you know, uh, this would be maybe pushing past you and just doubling down on getting up to that tower. So something to the effect of out of my way, boy, and just going headlong again towards the tower.
I've been waiting for an opportunity to say there must be a point at which your axe clashes with your shield.
Sure. Maybe there's a growl or something to that, ah! Something to that effect.
Yeah, and I think it's very clear to Icinius that Wulfric is going to try and save the town, even if Icinius doesn't. And that's the only answer I think he's getting.
Yeah, so that's no answer. That's just he's going to go bully a bunch of crows. Everybody moves forward and I just stand there and I turn back to the mound.
I think Owen would have made sure that everybody was following, so he'll see you turn back.
Go. I say to the two of them, and I turn to Icinius. I say, I'll talk to Icinius. Go.
He has the amulet.
Go.
We can't proceed without it. There's no point in standing there, us getting there and standing around waiting for you.
So I walked up to Icinius. Yeah.
That stopped Owen. Has it stopped Wulfric? Owen is suddenly having second thoughts, it feels like. Wulfric.
Not second thoughts. He's just not moving forward without a tool they need to proceed.
Wulfric, what are you doing? Are you stopping? Because you set off to run up the side of this hill fort. Is that still your plan?
I'm afraid to say that yes. I mean, Wulfric is a hammer. He just knows how to hammer in nails. And yeah.
And if he wants his honor back, he kind of had to get there first anyway.
Yes.
So I have Wulfric running up the side of this hill fort. I have Owen looking dubiously back down from where he'd started to make his way up. Cecily, Icinius is not interested. What do you do?
You know what? I look at him and I say, if you let these people die, then you're just the same as the ones who've done those terrible things to you.
Perhaps it's time to let the old gods die.
I think you've tried to convince him, Cecily, and I'm happy for you to.
Yeah, sure. I'll roll on that. Nine plus 2 gets me to an 11. For PCs, you get advantage. You get advantage doing it.
Okay, so.
Sorry. You mark experience, and you get advantage when you take action to do it.
Okay, I'm going to cut back to Wulfric because Wulfric has already got to the base of the tower and is running up those stone steps, I think. Yeah? So Wulfric, when you look in, the sun is sinking, so it's dark down there. But when you look into the tower, you can see there is a writhing mass of something down there. What do you do?
Yeah, I'm just taking a quick look at my soul move and if there's something clever I can think with this. I unfortunately I think it's outward facing, not necessarily inward facing.
Well, to help you, maybe I could tell you that in the middle of that mass is Eric screaming.
Oh, Eric is there. Okay. Actually, is there a move, I guess I'm thinking, that I could perhaps yell, back to the party to convince them to come up here. Sadly, I've only got fear me, and I don't want to instill fear on the rest of the party. Or actually, perhaps I do.
I mean,
you're muted.
I think that if you seek to, you could question their honor.
Well, and also, I mean, you don't need to activate a move to just in the fiction say, "Holy crap! There's something horrible going on. Get your asses up here."
Fair enough. Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah.
If you did use convince me, then they might arrive with advantage. But that's a little bit meta.
I think I'm overcomplicating this. You're exactly right. So I do just before I do anything, before I react to what I just saw, I mean, I'm just turning around and run, you fools! Eric is here, and there's some witchery, some something to that. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think it would be good if you rolled convince, using your fear me, because I would give anybody who decided to go with your suggestion an edge when they arrived. So go ahead, Wulfric.
That's awful. Even with my +2, it's still awful.
Okay, well, put it this way: nobody has to do what Wulfric said.
Perhaps I'm so diminished in everyone's opinion that.
But what I am going to ask is whether anyone does react to his plea, because you don't have to, but that doesn't mean you don't.
I don't think Owen's going anywhere near that thing without the amulets.
So if Icinius, are you deflated and look at what do you do, Icinius? Because I'm kind of like I just said that.
Yeah, I my body is still I'm wavering, and my body's still I want to take this back.
Sure.
And I say to you, I'm just a boy.
And oh man, and that's when I step forward and I put a hand on your shoulder and I say, the gift you have it doesn't matter. You have to use it to help people. That's why I'm here, is to help you use it the right way. And I hold out a hand, come with me, and I'll hold hands with you while we go up the hill to face this thing.
I look back at the cave, and then I look forward, and I take your hand.
There we go, and up the hill we go.
And remember that you will arrive with advantage, having marked experience, Icinius, because I will forget. So, Owen, it looks like Team Monster Hunter is on track again. Wulfric, you see them move, but I'm not sure that Eric is going to be survive long enough for them to arrive. What do you do?
Have I got enough time to sort of take this in? I mean, I guess I'm trying to do the look about you to determine.
Go ahead. I'll let you do the look about you while Cecily has been convincing Icinius. Go ahead.
And let me see. That is with
Sense.
That makes perfect sense. Thank you. That should have been obvious to me. That is an 8.
Which counts as very high for you today. So on an 8, you hold 1. Which of those questions do you want to ask me?
I would say, or I'm just curious, it's my best way in. And what's the best way that I can approach the situation?
The best way for you is to simply leap off the top of those stairs, land next to Eric, and save his life.
Gotcha.
And make
so I proceed.
your honor in the process.
Yes, axe in hand, I just sort of leap off the ledge, and yeah, try to pull Eric out.
So this sounds like mechanically you're activating protect someone. Yeah, because what that look about you, what it told you was that this writhing mass is a kind of shadowy, smoky mass that is engulfing Eric. So I think you're trying to protect him. So go ahead and roll plus savage.
So that is a 4 plus a 2 is a 6. I know the dice are just against me today.
Okay. I think you land next to him, and you become embroiled in this mass.
Gotcha.
Without managing to free him from it. And the thing is, though it looks slightly incorporeal, when this kind of tendril wraps around your ankle, it feels like it is solid and holding you in place. I'll come back to you in a moment to ask you what you do. The rest of you are herring up the side of the mound, or is Owen taking a more circumspect approach?
No, Owen would be like, once he saw that they were both on the way, he would then charge up the.
Fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you arrive at the top of the steps into the tower and look down on this and see both Eric. And Eric is now being pulled by two of these tendrils, and shortly will be pulled apart, I think, while you see Wulfric embroiled in these tendrils. Before I ask you what you do, I'm going to give Wulfric a chance to act.
So I was thinking of using my soul move. It's a bit of a stretch, given my dice rolling after successes or lack of. But yeah, I mean, I think this is a supernatural moment, and Wulfric naturally would call upon the supernatural to the extent that he can.
Fine. And all that requires you to do is to choose to either reduce your fate by 1, or to take 1 point of harm.
I'm going to take a point of harm.
Okay. And then you get to roll plus soul.
That is a 6 minus 2, which is a 4. Trying to make this as interesting as possible by failing as much as I can.
So on a 6 minus, something goes wrong, and the effect was immediate unwelcome attention. The unwelcome attention is that all the pressure drops off Eric and is applied to you. So whatever this is, it now sees you as a significant threat. And Eric is just lying there in a pile. Owen, that's what you see happen from the top of the stairs. What do you do before the other two arrive on the stairs?
Okay, so is Elric in immediate danger, or is he sort of let go for the moment?
It looks like he's being ignored in favor of poor Wulfric. Okay,
then Owen will also attempt to jump in and save the day. He's going to do it a little bit different. He's, instead of trying to just attack the smoke, he's going to try and, land on Wulfric, crash him to the ground, and then drag him out bodily, like just straight mass and momentum is what he's going for.
So, are you seeing that as a face danger or a protect?
I'm actually doing it as leave no one behind when I support someone trying to escape immediate danger.
Fine.
Although that actually min-maxing, it might make more sense to do another one if one of those uses steel, but I don't know. I have the move, let's use it. Why not? Okay, so that's plus sense. Let's see if I roll any better than Wulfric. And I do. That is a 10.
On a 10, you get them out easily with no cost to either of you. It appears that the interest of these tendrils in Wulfric was perhaps immediate but not persistent, and they've gone back to have a go at Eric. And as you drag Wulfric up to the stairs and out of this writhing mass, you can see Eric clutching in his hand. He still has the other pendant. This puts Cecily and Icinius back in the action at the top of the stairs. What do you do?
I gotta run down the stairs and grab that pendant.
And if nothing else, this certainly counts. As don't worry, I'll go.
Well, no, this is my I think this is less that than my doomed trait is recklessness.
No, fine. So if you need to spend fate on this, you are home free. Because I cannot think of anything more reckless, because you don't even have a weapon to speak of.
No.
So in you go.
Yeah, yeah.
Describe what you see happening, and then tell me what you want to activate.
So so he's like grabbed by the tentacles and stuff like this and everything, and is trying to like hold the amulet out, right?
He's not wanting to let go of the amulet, and it could even be that this is trying to get at the amulet.
Yeah, so that was kind of the impression that I got. So I like just run down to like, you know, the edge of that mass, and I say, and I basically do the, you know, throw me the idol thing to him. The amulet, give me the amulet. That's what it wants, I say.
I think, given his position, given his madness, that's going to be quite difficult to convince him to do, because I think he's probably just panicking. Is there anything you want to offer me that makes that a reasonable thing that he could actually do?
You know what? No, I think then I think that I just need to just kind of like I, you know, wait a moment, and then I'm just gonna like, you know, jump onto one of the slabs and just see if I can just reach out and just snatch it out of his hand.
I think you're facing danger.
Is what we got going on here. So this is on steel, right? I will be spending a point of fate there.
Absolutely fine. So that completed abject failure turns into a success with costs.
Yeah.
You can get the amulet.
Mm-hmm.
Cannot both get the amulet and get out.
Oh, then like as soon as I realize it's got me, I say, Icinius, and I huck the amulet to Icinius.
So, Icinius, you've seen all this happen from the top of the stairs. Cicely looks like she's about to sacrifice herself, but there is an amulet flicking through the air towards you. What do you do?
I am going to, because we need to put the amulets in their positions, right? Like on the floor.
That's a hypothesis.
Yeah. How far away are those positions?
One person could just about do it. It would be much easier with two.
So as I'm running to the position where I can put the oak leaf down, I'm going to cast that same spell I cast before to catch it and then put that in position.
Okay, so Icinius, you will have to jump off the steps to do this, because as I see it, Owen has just managed to get Wulfric to the bottom of the stairs out of these writhing tentacles. As you're doing that, I want to ask Wulfric and Owen what they're doing now, having seen what Cicely's done.
I think Owen's going to, go back in and try and get Cecily out now.
I think Wulfric would also join in. I mean, this is not finished.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How so?
The fact that it's like Hey, you know what? You're really good at forging signatures.
I thought, who's doing that without moving their lips? What I think I need to know then, are you doing this by attacking this stuff? Or are you doing this by trying to just physically drag her away?
So I think Owen's seen sort of what went down when Wulfric was trying to attack it to get the guy out, and then he went in and managed to get out just by bodily dragging Wulfric out. So I think he's going to try what worked and try and pull her out.
Okay.
I'm afraid to say that Wulfric is not nearly as thoughtful about it. He just is just going to sort of
He's new at the
beat
Monster
at it with
Hunter
his
business.
axe. Yeah, he's just going to try to hammer that nail in again.
Okay, so Wulfric is going to swipe at these tendrils holding Cecily in place, while Owen is going to try and drag her out. So I think probably the sensible order for that is Wulfric, then Owen.
Okay.
Go for it. Roll for Savage to fight the damn stuff.
Much better. So that is 10.
Now, because it's not targeting you as we speak, there is no exchange of harm. So you just get to do what fight says when you roll a 10.
Choose one extra advantage. Gain advantage that can be passed to another PC. So yeah, just the first one. That sounds perfect. Pass that advantage over to Owen, so that you got it.
And when your axe strikes this, it is more solid than it looks, and it shatters into flakes of flint. So what do you do, Owen?
I think I'm still going to just drag her out.
I think that's probably danger, unless you've got a better offer for me.
Nope, we'll go with face danger. Steal, right?
Yep.
Okay. Oops, wrong button. Ooh, boxcars.
So the tentacles, inverted commas, that are holding Cecily down shatter into a cloud of flint fragments. At the same time, Owen grabs her by the back of the dress and just drags her to the steps. That takes us to Icinius. Now, Icinius, I need you to face danger to do two things, really. You've got to cast a spell, and then you have to get these down in place. Yeah? So, shall we start with the spell? You're muted.
A total of 6 on the spell. Can I spend fate? I don't remember how that works.
If you think that you can convince me that you're acting in line with your trait of justice, then you can spend a point of fate and increase that from fail to partial success. I should say
I don't know.
it won't be difficult.
It won't be difficult. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to save the town, and it's I'm trying to remove the curse on this town.
Yeah, you made the moral decision at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah, despite the cowardly warriors, there is justice that needs to be.
Fine. So that moves to a partial success on the spell, and I think it's fair to say that do one thing beyond human limitations. You do it, but there is a cost to that. It draws immediate unwelcome attention. So as you grasp that second one, as you draw it out of the air into the palm of your hand, all the attention from this stuff, these things, is on you. Yeah? So anything that thought of pursuing Cecily, anything that thought of getting in Wulfric or Owen's way is now heading to you. It's you see tentacles kind of going that way, and then they go, yeah.
But I knew I was going to have to pay a price for this.
And so that magic puts it in your hand. You need to face danger to get these amulets in place. And it's such a shame that you're a boy, because your arms, it's barely reachable. Go ahead.
Has he rolled with advantage yet?
Good point. Roll with advantage, because you are.
Just saying.
Mind you, it hasn't worked much in your advantage, but go ahead. So roll 3 dice, take the top 2. My goodness me, never has an intervention been more appropriately timed. That turns a 7 into boxcars. So at full stretch, you jam them into the ground. There is a flash of bright light, and all of this tentacular smoke, immaterial shadow shatters into a hail of flint. But the cost to you is that you take 2 points of harm as flint hammers into your flesh in the center of this, yeah, which puts you at death's door. But the flint has gone. Eric is lying there. Now,
I wanna like, I roll over and I glare at Wulfric.
I mean, given that we are within 8 minutes of our time, I just would like to have a brief epilogue from each of you, because you have saved Synhamm. The king in Flint has been put back in his box, but I would like just to give you a chance for a brief epilogue, in whichever order you want to go, folks. So if you've got an idea, just put it out there for us. Owen, it is.
Yeah, I guess Owen can go first. So first off, is Icinius dead, or is he just, severely wounded and needs care?
Very wounded and in need of significant care, to the point he may not fully recover everything. There may be a long-term cost.
Yeah, so I think in the immediate, if this is okay, we probably see just some time spent between Cecily and Owen, bandaging him up, stabilizing him, and
can I force your epilogue on you?
Okay.
I prefer if your epilogue didn't make decisions about what other people do. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's just, it makes less sense for Owen to be the one bandaging it up, although by himself. But
well, I think we'll assume that someone will do the decent thing. I just want to get a picture in our closing scenes, the montage. What do we see Owen doing, having done to him?
If we're zooming out a bit, I think we probably do see the scene of him, extracting payment from my lady, and something to that extent, because we did it. We've successfully lifted the curse. I imagine we probably see that the Earl is perhaps not up to full health just yet, but he's awake and lucid.
I think I'd like to just twitch that a bit and say that actually we see the Earl handing you a pouch of coins, which demonstrates that he's back in the saddle. Yeah?
Yep.
Anybody else?
I'd be happy to go next if that's fine with Jim and Alejandro. I imagine maybe just a sort of a montage. Perhaps in the first, you see Wulfric in a shield wall. And maybe he is just doing what he does best, basically. Just being tough, mean, and drawing blood and taking hits and giving them. And then I think the second half of the montage is sort of in the Earl's hall, paying homage to the Earl, and then the Earl also bestowing some honor upon him.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
I think that probably that is the Earl recovered quickly enough to call his spears. You were able to confront the King's warband, and through Wulfric's heroic actions, were able to see them off. And for that, the Earl does indeed award you a golden arm ring. Who wants to go next?
I want to piggyback off of Jim. So
yeah, so I think we see a a fairly nice house in the village that looks like it is there's no one living there, but it's been maintained.
You just froze, Jim. Was that my end or your end? Can you just say that again?
I lost him too.
Oh,
Yeah,
we
same here.
looks like we all lost you, Jim.
yeah, poor timing.
Oh no.
You're frozen in mid. I guess I think I see where that was going. So I'm going to assume that.
It looks like.
And he's back in the room. Sorry, you froze and we lost you, Jim.
Oh, sorry. That's my bad internet. So, how
we got as far as the decent cottage.
So there is kind of Cecily arm in arm with Uric, and he looks much more lucid and like he's been shaved and his hair has been braided and he's wearing whatever armband he would normally have as the brother of the Earl. And Cecily is kind of opening the door and saying, "This is your home," and he's and he's kind of like nodding, kind of as it comes back to him. And like a year later, like it's Cecily and Uric, and she's walking around visibly several months pregnant, and
brilliant.
They're like standing in the in the hall with the Earl, kind of as part of his retinue.
I think that's really neat, because certainly you are quite right that a lot of the effects on Uric were due to the King in Flint, and having disposed of that, he'll probably always be slightly eccentric, but that's lovely. I like that.
And he's wearing a cross.
Oh, you little tinker, Cecily.
Yes, yeah, just like me. Yeah, just like me and my sister-in-law.
Okay, then what about Asinius?
So that's not what I wanted to piggyback on. I wasn't sure where Cicely was going to go. So we'll have the montage scene of him being healed and whatnot, and it probably takes a long time to get healed. Eventually, we see Asinius leaving the village, packed up, like well packed, and heading off to find Owen, if Owen is no longer in the town, and to join his efforts.
And I'd just like, if I could, to insert a little bit into that, because I think as he walks past us, the camera pans, and we see that in his shoulder here, it's just a sliver under the skin of flint. Because if he ever comes back to play this again, I'd quite like to have that. No, that's great. That's tremendous. So no, that was great, guys. Thank you for that. We are almost up to time. I would like to give a chance for some feedback, if you have the time to give 5 minutes or so. And if you are, then I'll start at, I'll go in order of the character keeper, starting with Jim. Any roses or thorns?
Yeah, roses for our two, in particular, roses for our two warriors. who were very patient through the first half of that. As we, did more noodling, like investigatory noodling around before you guys got to actually unsheath your axes and go, hack up some tentacles. So thank you. It's sometimes the procedurals that can happen. So roses to you guys because you were cool. You played along, and especially Eduardo for cutting and running. When that's that, and I kept thinking of Skyrim. Have you guys played Skyrim? I kept thinking of Skyrim where Skyrim has barrows and tombs like that with the the corpses on the shelves and stuff. And every now and then you'll just it's open world, so you'll just poke your nose down into one of those and you'll be turn a corner and it'll be there's a lich. Hell no. You immediately turn and just run your ass out of there. And that was I had that in my head. So good for you, Eduardo, for doing the narratively, the thing that made sense narratively as opposed to kind of, the gamer thing. So I really appreciated that. That was pretty great. So and as far as Thorns, boy, I think it was never entirely clear to me exactly what was going on. And that may have been purposeful, but I wasn't sure whether at no point was I ever 100% clear whether the goal was to lock it back down because it had started to get out and that was the problem.
Yeah, I know. I think
whether the fact that it was caged and against the cage meant we needed to let it out so that it could be free and go off into the universe and not be here anymore.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely my fault because
the metaphysics of it never really fell into place for me.
And I think what it's taught me, again, I normally run this as a one-shot at conventions. 3 hours, 3.5, done.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
good.
Mm-hmm.
I think the challenge that I'm continuing to wrestle with online is that pace. And I set this up as a 2-shot thinking I couldn't fill a 4. Whereas actually, I think I probably could have filled a 4 and allowed you to kind of find your way through it. So no, I think it's a fair call. Yeah. Thanks, Jim.
Yep.
Next along would be Eduardo. Tough to put you second spot, but because you're new in, but go ahead. Roses and Thorns.
I just, this is my first time playing with Jim, as I said, but I've played with the rest of you before, and it, once again, it's always a pleasure, playing with you guys. Funny enough, I played with Alejandro less than 24 hours ago, so it's just and I love playing on the Gauntlet. I mean, for this reason, because just the quality is always. I mean, it's always there. It's everyone shows up and is giving 10 tenths. Thorns, I mean, I really, I guess I don't have any in the sense that I came in the second session and I tried to just sort of quickly, pick up what was going on. And, so yeah, no, I appreciate your letting me in and thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks for that, Eduardo. Blaine.
Roses, I think this was a fantastic session overall. I think we had some really great character moments with Icenius there, especially when he was he knew this was going to be at a cost to him, and he just he had to stand back and take that moment and just say is this even worth doing? And that was a good moment. I really liked that. Had some good action, a little bit of just mystery horror going on with this monster that we never really knew what it was as we were fighting it. We had some ideas, but it was never really clear. Getting a little bit into Thorns, like Jim was saying, it was never really clear what using those amulets was going to do, and if that was going to be a good thing or a bad thing. It was just sort of what we were going with because you play into the the genre that we're in. And then the other thing is just something that I forgot about as well, but that hunting beast for the hunter class, we completely forgot about it. Just entirely forgot about it.
Beast? What beast? Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
no. Yeah, it hadn't even crossed my mind. I have to say.
Yeah, I was just scrolling down this at the end and looking at it, and I was like, oh yeah, I have a hunting beast. We probably should have done something with that. I think we might have mentioned it back when we were getting off the boat, and that was pretty much it.
And I presumed that my goat just sort of pieced out. My
Yeah.
goat was like, yeah, I am not going up that hill.
No, I mean,
can
I have
smell
to
that.
say,
I can smell that. That's bad news. I'm going to be down here chewing on grass for when you guys get back. So
yeah,
I didn't even bother bringing that into it.
no,
So yeah.
I'm thinking hard about whether they're worth the candle. I have to say, I can think of some narrow circumstances where they might. No, fair point. Okay, and last but not least, Alejandro, anything, any roses or thorns?
Yeah, so roses to both the system and the players. First, the players. I think you all did a really, really great job in portraying your characters and your motivations. Eduardo, cowardly Wolfric, was so perfect. I loved that you did that because it really gave Asinius something to bounce against in that like moment. Like yeah, it's gonna hurt me, but for you, I don't know if it's worth it. So that was fantastic. I really love the that's good. I really love the relationship between Sicily and Icinius. That was really satisfying. And I think that although it didn't really show up here, it was kind of starting to bubble in my mind that there's this kind of like hero type of look that Asinius is having towards Wolfric. Like he's like this admiration and so having that epilogue where he goes off was kind of like I would like to see how that would progress at some point. Wolfric
or
no, I'm sorry, Owen. Owen. Yeah. So yeah, the role play was spectacular. We all really meshed, and had I loved how Owen didn't go straight for hack and slash. It was just a lot of really beautiful moments. As far as the system goes, I think the system, like I think it really does these playbooks at least really fulfill what this game is trying to do. Like they fulfill their promise, I think. And that was really satisfying. Although my thorn still is investigate and look about you. Those are just two terrible moves, and the fact that one of them is detached from otherworldly and the other one isn't is really obnoxious. But as a whole, I'm really I love this incarnation of a PBTA game.
Well, that's good to know. And thanks for that enthusiasm. Roses from me, I think, it came up in the first one. I think, Jim, you said there was a bit of history fear and maybe what was this about? And I think in this session, all of you just got the setting really well. You kind of twigged what this was about. And I mean, specifically, Eduardo, thanks. You hit the ground running. And yeah, that moment in the tunnel will stick with me for a while. Jim, whenever I'm in a game with you, even if feelings are not part of the system, you bring them, guy. You bring them. That relationship, the relationship with Icinius, the relationship with Eric was just gorgeous. He was just lovely. Owen, I think in terms of Owen, I think what I saw was the apprentice turned into the kind of the full-blown monster hunter. That kind of sense of, I don't quite know how to, is this what it's like? Is this what the proper job's like? I thought that was great. And yeah, Icinius is a real three-dimensional character for me now, Alejandro, and that's why I want to leave him with the flint, because if you come back and play another one of these, maybe in July, I'd quite like to have Icinius and his little bit of the king in flint back in the game. So with that, guys, I'm going to stop the broadcast. So here we go.